Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm really excited because I'm going to be doing a first impression overview and tutorial on a brand new palette that just dropped. This is from a brand that really wasn't well known, but Trend Mood posted it and everybody went crazy. People had some really jarring opinions on really loving it and purchasing it, and a lot of people said, who is this brand? Why is it so expensive? So we're going to get all into it today. The palette that I'm talking about is the Vanity Makeup, the Signature palette. Purchased this myself. You guys know I keep it real here, so I'm going to show you swatches. I'm going to compare it to some other palettes in my collection that it reminds me of in terms of packaging, color story, or textures, and we're just going to try it out, see how it blends, and I'll let you know my first impression and thoughts on whether I think this palette is actually worth the high price tag. If you're new here, I hope you subscribe. Please give this video a thumbs up, and let's go ahead and begin. So before I show you the palette, swatches, talk about the packaging, I want to talk about the brand. So the brand is Vanity Makeup Cosmetics. This brand has actually been around for, I want to say, a year, maybe a year and a half, and her first product came out like a year or so ago. I remember it because I do follow her. Her actual handle is Vanity Makeup, so the owner is Annie, and she is Vanity Makeup on Instagram, and she has her brand Vanity Makeup Cosmetics. But she did drop, just kind of out of nowhere, the Signature palette. And Trend Mood posted this and people went wild. And I was immediately intrigued by it, so I actually purchased this myself. This is a palette that really spoke to me because I do wear neutrals most of the time. I love the Patrick Ta palette. It's one of my favorites. And I thought that it would be something very similar. It looked like it had some interesting textures in here. The thing is, this palette was $95. And I think that's where sort of the controversy came in. People were like, $95, that's pricey. And I even thought it was pricey too. I definitely don't think it's on the playing field of the Hourglass, which is $3 for $100. But it is a pricey palette. So in here, you're gonna get 12 eyeshadows, 3 different textures and finishes. It is available now, but it is $95. If a palette really speaks to me, I don't personally have a problem paying the high-end or luxury price tag. But with that, I do expect an amazing formula, beautiful textures, beautiful colors, beautiful packaging. So this is what the box it comes in looks like. It's really beautiful, aesthetically pleasing. It has this gold siding and then this nude front, and it says Vanity Makeup, the Signature palette. Now this is made in Italy. You get 24 grams. This is vegan and not tested on animals. Features 12 eyeshadows in 3 different textures, 6 buttery mattes, 3 intense shimmers, and 3 diamond sparkles. The shades in this palette melt perfectly into the skin to adapt to every skin tone. So my purchasing experience was great. I purchased it the day it came out on July 30th, and I believe I got it 2 days ago. So I got it within the week. I think the shipping was free as well. Now I am in the US, so I'm not sure about international, but I really didn't have any issues in terms of getting it. It was wrapped nicely in bubble wrap and then tissue paper, and it came in a nude box that matches this, which I thought was a nice touch. So now let's talk about the actual palette packaging. When I saw the first post, it was basically just showing the palette. You really couldn't tell what the packaging was like. But then I saw Trend Mood did an IGTV or a reel, and she showed close-ups of the swatches, the palette, and the packaging, and I could tell it was high quality. It was different than most palettes you see on the market. And then when I was going through my collection and trying to think of my most luxe eyeshadow palette, most expensive luxury packaging I could find, I immediately grabbed my Pat McGrath Mothership palette. So these are 10-pan palettes, but they're heavy. The packaging is very luxe. You can tell that you spent a lot of money on these. They're very expensive. They feel expensive. They're like a weapon. I mean, you could knock somebody the fuck out with this if you really wanted to. The Vanity Makeup palette packaging is very much on par with the Mothership palettes from Pat McGrath packaging wise. You do get 12 shades in the Vanity Makeup. You get 10 in the Pat McGrath. The Vanity Makeup is $95. The Pat McGrath is $125. So they're very similar in terms of the price point and what you get. Both of these palettes have a good weight to them, so you can just tell they're luxe. They're not cheap feeling at all. I would say the Pat McGrath is a smidge heavier, but this one is very much on par with that. So as you can see, the Vanity Makeup has a a glossy nude front with the gold trim, and then there is this gold detailing. This is very similar to Gucci Beauty. If you've tried their bronzer, it has like green with the gold. If you tried the pressed powder, it's very similar. It has like a nude color with the gold detailing. So I thought this was a nice touch. And on the front, it says Vanity Makeup in gold. And then when you flip it over, I thought this was also a nice touch. It says the signature palette, and it's actually engraved into the palette. Now it does have a sticker on the back, and I'm not a huge fan of stickers, but even Pat McGrath put stickers on the back. I'm not sure if that could be avoided or how expensive it would be to actually get all of that engraved into the palette. I'm assuming very, very pricey. So it doesn't really bother me, but it's just something I wanted to know. So now that we've talked a little bit about the palette, I really want to swatch it. I have not touched it. It's been killing me. So in here you get 6 mattes on the top, then you get 2 metallics here and another metallic here. So 3 metallics, and then you get 3 diamond sparkles right here. Those are what I'm most interested in. I really want to compare them to the Patrick Ta toppers because those are very much like sophisticated glitter. Okay, I couldn't help myself, so I started off with the diamond sparkles. They are gorgeous. So there's 3 different shades here. Let's swatch these. This is just one swipe. They feel pretty creamy, like there's not a lot of kick up, but you can definitely feel that grit. I think that gives it that sparkle moment. I'm trying to think of like what they remind me of. I feel like they have a little bit more pigment than the Patrick Ta ones, and they're not as flaky, but they're definitely super high shine, gorgeous. So next I swatched the metallics, and these are beautiful, smooth, creamy, not chunky at all. This one almost looks like a hybrid. It almost looks like that gunmetal type of feel. So let's see what one swipe does. Super pretty, very smooth. Let's see. So here are the 3 metallics. These are gorgeous as well. Really nothing to complain about in terms of swatching them. I didn't have to dig in hard or anything like that. And they are high shine, very smooth, not chunky at all. So now on to the mattes. I have the first 4, which are the lighter shades. Feels very creamy. It doesn't feel dry or heavy, quite pigmented. So let's swatch. Ooh, that's a pretty good swatch for a really light shade. Typically those don't really show up. So these are just one swipes. I'm not gonna, be going back and forth. So that one is more taupey and that one is warmer. Let's do this like orange warm shade. So here are the deep brown and the black. Let's see how they swatch on the hand. So there is the chocolatey brown shade and then the black. Swatching pretty well. I mean, I'm just giving my first thoughts, but everything's swatching well, but I want to see how they perform on the eyes. I'm also going to throw up a close-up of all of the shades swatched just so you can actually see them all together as a cohesive palette. But my initial thoughts is not a lot of kick up. I see a tiny bit of kick up in the mattes, like a tiny bit. I'll have to see how that goes when I actually dip my brushes in there, but everything seems pigmented, smooth. I'm not seeing any chunking or flaking, so I'm excited to try this on the eyes. All right, so I've zoomed you guys in and I want to go ahead and start applying. I want to see how these eyeshadows blend, the pigmentation, if I struggle with anything. So I'm going to start out with this shade right here, which is the light, warm, I guess, tan brown shade in here. Okay, it feels very pigmented when I put my brush in. Tiny bit of kick up in the pan, if you can see there, like very little amount, but just want to note that. It feels like a thin formula. So let's start applying. Whoa, okay, pigmented. I'm gonna apply this in the crease. I usually do my eyes first, but I really want to do something different because I feel like I've been doing winged liner way too much. So I want to do something a little bit different. Okay, very pigmented. I feel like this color story is quite balanced when I look at it. There's like 3 lighter shades and then there's 3 darker shades for both the mattes and then the shimmers. So I feel like it's very inclusive in the sense that really anybody is going to be able to use this palette. I like to say there's not 50 shades of beige. And I'm using a Smith 230 for this. I'm going to switch to my 232 and just dip in lightly to really blow this out. Make sure that all my edges are soft. Also gonna take this on the outer portion of my lid here. We're just gonna sort of build depth starting out with this shade, but I have to say it's nice and pigmented, very thin formula. I'm not noticing any fallout yet. So now I want to add some more depth to the outer corner. So I am going to go in with that deep chocolatey brown. I want to see how dark this is, if it's tough to work with. I'm going to use a Smith 235 brush. It's just a little bit more flat. And I am going to sort of pat this on this outer corner here. And then just blend upwards. And then I can go back in with my Smith brush, the 232, which is the bigger one, and sort of soften any edges here. And then again, just go back in to build it up. Seems nice and pigmented, a little bit of fallout here, but nothing crazy, but it definitely deepened up the look. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing on the other eye. Okay, so that actually gave me some really beautiful depth on the outer portion of the eye. I want to go in next and try a metallic before I do the diamond sparkles. So I'm going to use the bronze shade up here, and I'm just going to use my finger dry. It's very shiny and thin, so let's just apply this. And I'm assuming, obviously, as most shadows are, if you use it damp, you'll get more color payoff or more intensity. So this is what it looks like dry. I just wet my finger with a little bit more here, and I want to try to intensify it. It's very pretty, very smooth. So wetting it definitely does amp it up a little bit. I feel like that's really kind of universal with any shade of a metallic. These metallics almost feel like a cream, which is nice. Very smooth and not chunky at all. Like there's literally no kickback at all. So this is what the metallic looks like. Very pretty, but you know we have to go for those diamond sparkles. So I'm going to grab this one, which is right next to it. It's a bronzy tone. And I'm gonna use, again, just a dry finger. So you can see it feels a little bit flakier than the metallic. So you can see here we have the metallic and then we have the diamond sparkle. I'm just going to pat this. Yeah, it definitely gives more of that like diamond sparkle, I guess, textured feel. Definitely intensifies it. I have a little bit of fallout. It's not quite a glitter, but it's like a glitter hybrid. So very similar to the Patrick Ta palette. I call it sophisticated glitter. So this is what it looks like dry. I definitely want to try to wet it, so let's do that next. Okay, now I'm going in wet. And I don't know if it makes much a difference. I don't really think that they need to be wet. They just sort of are sparkly and intense on their own. So definitely beautiful, pretty much what I expected, just a gorgeous, sophisticated, really glittery look. So I'm going back in to that deeper brown. Just want to make sure that we don't have any harsh lines here. And then just to make sure that everything blends nicely, I'm going to tap that metallic in between the diamond sparkle and the matte. So now I want to work on the lower lash line. I'm going to go in with the deep brown, and I think I'm going to mix it with the black. I'm going to be using a really small brush to really work this close to the lower lash line. So I'm sort of connecting it to this outer portion. And then once I have that, I'm just going to go in with that fluffy brush that I used and just smoke it out, but also connect it out here. And now I'm going to grab the black shade alone, and I'm going to use a flat brush and really put this tight up where my lash line is. And then just go back in and make sure everything is blended. And then I am going to jump in to the black up here again, and I'm using a Rephr 14 brush, and I just want to really intensify right out here. So I went ahead and did a super thin line on the top of my lash line. I just like to do that. It preps me for lashes. I feel like it just looks better. And now I want to go into the black in this palette. I'm going to use a really small pencil brush, and I'm going to smoke that line on the outer corner so that it sort of blends in. So pretty heavily go over that. The ice cream truck is outside. So I'm not going to do the entire thing, just more so the outer corner here. Do you guys have ice cream trucks in your neighborhood? I feel like we have it a lot. Okay guys, so I did finish the rest of my eyes off camera. I used my Gucci liner in 01, which is the black shade, and I just put it in my inner rim and then put it tight lined underneath my lash line just so it kind of blended in and we got that really smoky look. And then I did apply lashes. I feel really weird because I've used these lashes so many different times. I have backups because I love this style. They're Lashaholics in Baby Girl. But when I put them on my eyes, I feel like they look totally different, like almost questioning, did I put two different lashes on? Got a new pack out to look at them, and when I'm looking up close, it's very subtle, but there is a difference. So it's like this side is more, I guess, like tied together chunks of lash, and then this one fans out more. So it looks like I have two different lashes on. I honestly cannot be bothered to take these off and put other ones on, but let me show you a close-up and see if you can tell. So I feel like it's sort of hard to tell, but this one, it's definitely more piecey, and then this one is more flared out all over. I don't really know what's going on with that because I've used these lashes like a million times. So let's just try to ignore the two different lashes. I didn't realize until I put them on, and then I was like, what's happening with my eyes? But I want to go over my final thoughts on this Vanity makeup palette. So of course I've only used it one time, but I want to tell you what I thought in terms of the textures, the finishes, the colors. Packaging, A+. It is beautiful, definitely looks high-end, definitely feels high-end. It is expensive, but it feels expensive. So aside from the beautiful packaging, let's actually talk about the shadows. I love the colors in here because you get cool tones and warm tones. I love that you can do the best of both worlds. If you want to do a bronzy look like I did, you can do that. If you want to do more of a silver gunmetal look, you can do that. When I think of my top palettes that I love that are sort of in this wheelhouse, meaning the Patrick Ta, that one has no cool tones in it, so I really have to reach for something else. Whereas the Natasha Denona Glam palette is very cool toned, but I can't do a bronze look. So then I pick the Natasha Denona bronze palette, but I can't do a cool toned look. The only one I can think of that has the best of both worlds recently that I feel like gives me a similar vibe in terms of the looks I can get would be the Scott Barnes Natural palette. That one is a larger palette, but you get the best of both worlds, meaning that you can do a really gunmetal cool tone look or you can do a bronzy look. So being a neutral shadow lover like myself, I love that I have options in here. You can really take it there with this black, or you can keep it light and soft down here. I love the colors she chose. I love the textures as well. I thought the mattes blended beautifully. They were very pigmented, a little bit of fallout, but nothing crazy. They blended beautifully, did not stick down. I didn't really have an issue blending them, or I didn't notice it. You guys can let me know what you saw because I do zoom in and I don't use filters. So you can really see how these products apply. What shocked me the most is I actually really love the metallic. I almost feel like I liked the look before I put the diamond sparkle on. I loved this metallic shade right here, very smooth, and it just was seamless on the eye. And then the diamond sparkle is gorgeous as well. Very similar again to the Patrick Ta palette with the different textures, and I really like that. I think it's a nice way to make neutral palettes stand out, having different textures in there so it's not just like metallic, matte. There's some sort of different, you know, creams in the Patrick Ta or the diamond sparkles in here. So I like the variance of actual textures because I feel like it can kind of amp your look up and change it even though it still is neutral. Now in terms of comparing this to other palettes that I have, I wanted to show you these swatches. So if you look at the top here, these are the Patrick Ta shimmery shades that come in his palette. They're probably the most similar to the Vanity Makeup diamond sparkle shades because they are again like that sophisticated glitter. I would say the Vanity ones are smoother and more creamy, whereas the Patrick Ta are a little bit more chunky. You have to build them up a little bit more, but you get the same effect. And then down here are the Tati textured neutrals glitters. These are true glitters. So the top two in the Vanity and the Patrick Ta, they're not glitters. These are actually glitters in the Tati. So it is different. I know people were thinking that because they see some sort of glittery shade. So if you like chunky, real glitter, that's what's in the Tati palette. I actually prefer the soft, you know, sophisticated glitter look that comes in the Vanity and the Patrick Ta. I think it's easier to work with. It's more wearable for every day, and it's something that I would reach for a little bit more. I just like the effect of it. And in terms of the color story, it is similar to the Tati Beauty one in the sense of this shade right here, I think really stands out. Very similar to the Vanity one. And then of course this shade and this shade and this shade. So it is similar, but in the Tati Beauty one, you get these really, I guess, more like maroon reddish tones in here, and then you don't get sophisticated glitter look because you're going to get actual glitter in the Tati palette. So can you do a similar look with the Tati palette? Absolutely. It's probably very similar, but it's a difference of, do you want those sparkle toppers? Do you want a smaller curated palette? The Tati palette is quite large. And do you not enjoy real glitter, pressed glitter, but you want a little bit of sparkle, something a little bit different than a metallic? So it's really kind of up to you. I would say in terms of the texture, it reminds me the most of the Patrick Ta palette, just because those sparkle toppers are basically the same thing. It's just a different color story because you can get a more diverse look than the Patrick Ta being only like a brown kind of look, if that makes sense. So overall, my first impression on this palette was great. Is it expensive? Yes. But will I reach for it? Yes. It's something that I will keep top drawer because I do reach for these tones a lot, and I like that I can play around with different textures to get a different look. I had no issues blending. I had no issues with shipping. I thought the packaging was beautiful, very weighty, feels expensive. So it's really a matter of opinion whether you want to splurge and spend $95 on a palette or you don't. And I think you can get similar looks from ColourPop palettes or really whatever you have in your collection. The Makeup Lover in me, this is an item that I think is truly beautiful. I just love how it performed. I love the look that I came up with. It was really easy to use, and I'm always looking for shadows that are easy. I don't want to struggle more than I have to because I already have struggles with my brows and, you know, my pores and all of that. I just want easy eyeshadow, and this really gave it to me. So I think it is a high quality palette. I think the formula is really high quality too, along with the packaging, and I am intrigued to see what else she releases. So I'm excited to use this more. You guys will have to let me know down below what you think of my look. What do you think about how the items performed, how the shadows blended? Did you notice anything during application that you liked or didn't like? Of course, I know it's expensive, so again, I'm not telling you to go out and buy it. It's all personal preference, but I'm happy to have it in my collection, and if I could do it over, I would buy it again because I think it's beautiful and I'm excited to use it more. So I think that's everything for this first impression and tutorial on the new Vanity Makeup eyeshadow palette. Quite happy with how it turned out. You guys will have to let me know down below. I will link the website down below in case you're interested in checking it out. If you're new here, I hope you subscribe and let me know what you want me to review next. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.